On today's show, scoring droughts down the stretch of games. It's become the new Warriors staple. Einstein said insanity. What is it? It's doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. Can we please change some things?
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We will do it live. I have some weird thing about me where if the show's not live, I have to stop and start like 18 times because I have to be a perfectionist. Unlike the Golden State Warriors, because nothing has been perfect down the stretch. Mistake after mistake, turnovers, the lack of scoring, the mind-boggling rotations. We're getting into all of this on today's episode of Locked On Warriors, a live edition, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's a good time to tell you about our free daily newsletter. You can find it at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com for a free Warriors newsletter that has all the information, a link to this show, nuggets from around the league. It's free, delivered to your inbox, lockedondaily.com. Ways you can find the show. You can find us on YouTube. If you're watching us right now live, make sure you give us that thumbs up. Leave a comment on how pissed off you are. That's kind of the theme of the show today. We're all pissed. Kerr's pissed. Curry's pissed. Chuck Walter's pissed. I know you all are pissed because that's a game that the Warriors should have had. Dubs should be going to Las Vegas, celebrating right now. And instead, it's back to Chase Center for a game against the Dallas Mavericks. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth. For any net worth, these generous benefits now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. You can also find the show wherever you get your audio podcasts. It's a great way to take us on the go. Perfect for flights, long road trips, in the gym, whatever it may be. We're versatile, baby. We are versatile. Are the Golden State Warriors versatile right now? It doesn't seem so. At the very beginning of the year where they had a lot of different ways to beat you, it has not been that lately. It's been wins by defensive efforts and hopefully hanging on down the stretch. And it's been few and far in between. I mean, they're 2-7 over their last 9 games. And a lot of them have been close. A lot of these games have seen the Warriors on top in the fourth quarter and down the stretch, man. What is going on? So I want to peel back the onion. I want to unravel the fruit by the foot because this game had some layers and I want to hit it 1 inch at a time. Let's start with the end of the game, specifically the role of the referees. That was a big talking point in the postgame presser. Big talking point for Steve Kerr. Let's just start with that because Kerr was absolutely furious at the call where Jonathan Kuminga goes over the back, sends the Rockets to the free throw line to knock down 2, take the 1-point lead, and win the basketball game. He was pissed before that, saying that Steph Curry got hit on the hand, essentially was pointing to the refs as a scapegoat as a reason why the Warriors lost this game. And I mean, look, 3 bad calls in the waning moments, it theoretically does decide a game, right? They don't call that foul there. The clock runs out or Houston's getting a timeout with 2 seconds left, and they probably have to shoot a deep one. And you know what happens when the Houston Rockets shoot deep ones. They miss. They shot 22% yesterday from 3. So theoretically, sure, it decided the game. But don't turn it over 14 times in the first half if you want to win. Don't put in Gary Payton with 90 seconds left, up 6 for an offense to defense sub when Buddy Hield was the better defender in the game. Buddy was excellent. Peyton was a -14. He was the lowest on the team, yet he kept doing that sub. And Peyton's just a non-existent threat from 3 at this point. You needed a bucket desperately late. It's all you needed. You just needed a bucket, and Kerr was going defense to offense. Buddy comes in for Gary after Houston hits the 3. Draymond throws it away in 2 seconds in a 3-point game. So what does Kerr do? Goes right back down to the bench, says, get your ass in here, Gary. Defensive play. Warriors or Rockets score again. Gary stays in there at the end of the game. And we saw what happened with Gary, the lasting images of him on the floor and throwing it away. The only thing you can't do in that situation, because you're either going to get fouled or you're going to get it tied up. And what does a tie-up do in the NBA with the jump ball rules? It bleeds the clock. Clock was your friend, and the Warriors did not use it to their advantage. Play your best guys down the stretch. Buddy had been awesome, led the team in plus minus in the game, and the defensive to offensive substitutions, I get it. It's strategic. It's the mad scientist behind Steve Kerr, but it drove me freaking crazy in this one. Less coaching, let them play. But back to the refs. I'm saying don't put yourself in a position to have the refs steal it. But let's get real. This is sports. Both teams think the refs stink. That is life. With that being said, a horrific whistle. Not necessarily a bad call because there was contact, and I get that you can, argue that it's a foul there. In fact, it probably was a foul. But you can't make that call. I mean, you saw the entire team calling timeout. Dylan Brooks is sitting there calling timeout. I'm sure Udoka was calling timeout. It's just an awful way to decide a game in 2024. An awful way to decide a game. Gave me like shades of Big East basketball in 2011. I think Villanova got shafted that way one time. But Steve Kerr, as we mentioned, he was very pissed. He was more than pissed. He was stunned. Here's what he had to say.
I don't even understand what just happened. Loose ball, diving on the floor, 80 feet from the basket, and you're going to give a guy 2 free throws to decide the game when people are scrambling for the ball. Just give them a timeout. Give them a timeout and let the players decide the game. That's how you officiate, especially because the game was a complete wrestling match. They didn't call anything. Steph Curry got hit on the elbow, plain as day on a jump shot, just clubbed right on there, no call. So you've established you're just not going to call anything throughout the game. It's a physical game. We're going to call it a loose ball foul on a jump ball situation with guys diving on the floor with the game on the line. This is a billion-dollar industry. You got people's jobs on the line. I am stunned.
Steve Kerr stunned. You heard it there. I want to continue the convo on how this game ended. Steph Curry not getting calls. Steph's reaction in the locker room. He gave his raw reaction of how he felt about these late game scoring droughts becoming a theme at this point. And was Steph Curry's 3 egregious? I say yes, based on the time that was left on the shot clock and the game clock. I'm a mathematician, not at all, but I do the math here, and it just seems like it wasn't a smart play. But I want your opinion on it. That's coming up on Locked On Warriors. Let's talk about Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Back to the show. All right, so we talked about the refs, and I'm loving the comments now about the Warriors and just getting hosed by the refs in this one. But at the end of the day, they did put themselves in their position to get hosed by the refs because first half, it was ugly basketball. They were playing from the hole. They finally get ahead after some Buddy Hield threes. And what do? They just stopped scoring the basketball. And that is a big, big point of concern right now. It makes me think that the main priority the Warriors should have as they enter smoke season, which is players like Jimmy Butler essentially saying that they want out, they want to go elsewhere, players becoming available The Warriors reportedly reaching out to the Nets, interested in 3 of their guys. The number one priority should be finding a way to put the ball in the damn bucket, finding a way to score it. And let's preface with Andrew Wiggins missed the game. 17-point wigs, two-way wigs, may have been a different story. But that's kind of the issue of itself right there, is it's Warriors roulette. You hear about Steph's knee one day, Draymond's out, Andrew Wiggins has the ankle contusion. It's just always something. And I get, like, you can point ahead to the playoffs and say, when this team's healthy, they may have some dudes, if at full strength. They got to get to the playoffs first. They're 2-7 in their last 9. It hasn't been good. So the scoring down the stretch, how many games is it? Help me with it, chat. San Antonio, they forget how to score down the stretch. Brooklyn, they stop scoring down the stretch. Hell, we can go back like a month ago against Houston and Oklahoma City, where the Warriors built up 30-point leads. And I get the NBA flips. A 20-point lead is not what it was in 1997, but a 30-point lead is still a damn 30-point lead. And the reason the Warriors are able to let the other team get back in it, in the case of the first matchup against Houston, literally to the point where it went into overtime, is because they have these periods where they cannot score the ball. They have Steph Curry, and granted, he missed that first Houston game, but they got Steph Curry, who can get a bucket in his sleep. Not as much this year. I mean, he had 19 points in the game, has yet to go for that 40, 50-point outburst that we've seen at times throughout his career, has been more so of a consistent 20 to 25 kind of guy this season, which is fine. Kuminga starting to pick it up. He can get himself a bucket, but too often at times we see him settle for that jump shot instead of taking it to the rack. And when he does take it to the rack and gets fouled, goes up strong, free throws. Hasn't been good from the charity stripe. They got to figure that out. Buddy's not someone that's going to create a ton of shots. He's the microwave. He'll get hot, hit 4 3-pointers, get you right back in it like we saw against Houston. But he's not a viable scorer every single possession, which is what the Warriors need come playoff time. Someone that can get you a bucket. Wiggins is solid. I don't think he's that dude, but Wiggins has had a really good year. And then you go down the roster from there. Podziemski, for whatever we heard from him in the offseason about him being that guy, it's not even close. And this is coming from a stan. Kyle Anderson, nope. Gary Payton II, nope. Kevon Looney, nope. Trace Jackson-Davis, you're not giving him the ball on the block and expecting him to hit a hook shot. They don't have it. They need to go find it. Here's Steph Curry, though, talking about the Warriors' inability to score down the stretch and how it's costed them in so many of these games. And hell, I mentioned some of the games that it costed them in. This is deja vu from the Denver game. They had a 6-point lead in Denver in the other NBA Cup loss that they had. And how did they blow it? They didn't score the final 2 minutes of the game. This time it's the final 3 minutes of the game. It's unacceptable. Sorry to the dogs upstairs that probably just jumped.
Guys had a 6-point lead with about 77 seconds left. Obviously blew it. Similar in Denver. It feels like it's kind of even been a trend back the last couple seasons where, in previous years it wasn't. I mean, how concerning is just like those type of blown leads in that condensed amount of time?
It's a team trying to figure out who you are, what works, what sets we need to be in. Teams, selling out on kind of our standard pick and roll, which I usually can make plays. Like I said, I make that last shot. You might not ask about the last 2 possessions. It's kind of just the way the game goes. When you lose, everything is on full display. The pattern of, scoreless kind of droughts down the stretch has to be addressed, or else we're going to be a mediocre team. I take responsibility for, not being able to get us organized or not being able to finish plays. Like, balls in my hands, I got to make shots. But I think we all can address certain sets that can get us into better shot creation type opportunities, knowing how teams are trying to guard us, especially in the last 5 minutes. And we're talking about it. We're, experimenting, and that's going to be a defining point of our full season if we figure it out. If we don't, because we're playing well enough to win most games, so that's a good sign and a bad sign.
That's the most frustrating thing about this entire season thus far is aside from the fiasco in Cleveland, and I mean, point to the Minnesota game where Wiggins left early and it just never felt like they clicked. I would say Phoenix too. Those 3 games, take out those 3 games. And the Warriors have had stretches where it's like, all right, this team's good. Sometimes stretches for 3+ quarters. But we saw it in San Antonio. We saw it against Brooklyn. We saw it against Denver. We've now seen it again. They just cannot put it together consistently. And you can't really point to the defensive end. I mean, they just held the Rockets to 91 points. What more can you ask a team to do in 2024 than play good enough team defense to hold the team to 90 points? I mean, I see 91 points. I see people on pods. Pods held the Rockets guards, helped, didn't do it himself, to 8 of 28. So for everyone out there that's saying Brandon Podziemski is the reason why the Warriors lost, him and Steve Kerr scapegoats 1 and 2 right now. And look, Podziemski's not had a good season. I think that the stats back that up. The points are down from last year. The 3-point percentage is down nearly 10 points, 10 percentage points. The field goal percentage is down, assists down, rebounds down. Everything is down from a season ago. And Brandon Podziemski's all-rookie team. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. But I want to talk about what Steph Curry said, because half of it is good. Golden State does play well enough at spurts to where they give you hope in the future if they can find that one trade that takes them over the top, unless you think they can figure it out internally. I haven't heard many people that do think the Warriors have all the chips on the table right now to go out there and win themselves a chip. And for those of you that are trying to compare this to 21-22, they started out 18-2. They had a stretch there where they didn't play good basketball. They blew some games. They had a few losing streaks, but it didn't look like this for the most part. This is looking like post 21-22 after that championship. It's kind of been the mantra of Golden State. I remember doing a sportscast at KPIX, and it was the Detroit Pistons game where Klay Thompson hits a unreal 3 off just a great set play off an inbounds by Steve Kerr. In the very next play, Warriors legend Sadiq Bey knocks down a deep 3 to win it. And it's just always something as of late. The clutch gene has not been there. It's been more like the choke gene for the Golden State Warriors, which is not something that we like to see. But I want to talk about Steph Curry's 3-pointer late in the game. What was your reaction to Steph Curry shooting that 3? I'm shocked at how many people are okay with it. The shot's fine. If the time wasn't a factor there and there's, the shot clock isn't even on, whatever. You'll take the shot. That's the best look he's going to get. You have a chance to put the game away, put it on ice, get a little night-night. But I think that was part of it, right? He was feeding into that night-night. And because of it, I think he made a grave, dare I say, egregious mistake there. And look, Steph Curry's the GOAT. I'm a podcaster. I don't have a ton of room to speak on this. But one thing that I do know is time, because I am a master at wasting time. And the Golden State Warriors had the Rockets on the ropes. There was a 3-second differential between shot and game clock there, maybe 4. In that situation, players from the other team often freeze. So, we don't know what was going through Tari Eason's head. We don't know what was going through the Houston Rockets defender's head in that situation. They may not even hear Udoka on the sideline barking. What do they do? Sometimes teams foul in a panic. They wait way too long. They foul in a panic. And then one of the greatest free throw shooters of all time is going to the charity stripe for a chance to put you up 3 with 5 seconds left. So, not a bad shot. If it goes in, it's a sick night-night, and the legend grows as the Warriors head to Vegas. But time is literally your best friend there. It's your only friend. You have to waste as much of it as possible. And to shoot that shot with 10 seconds instead of 4 seconds or 5 seconds is just, it's ridiculous to me. How would Houston have played that out? We'll never know. There was a 3-second difference. But I'm thinking time in my head. All right, let's say Steph, even if he gives it up to Kuminga or something, if the Warriors get up a shot with, let's say, 4.5 seconds left on the clock. By the time it hits the rim and bounces, there's 2 seconds. Like, the Rockets are running out of time there. You get a hand on the ball aggressively, tip it up in the air. Clock's expired. Houston doesn't even have a shot. I felt like when Steph Curry started walking that thing up the court with 27 seconds left, I was like, Houston has to foul him here. They're gonna run this thing down. I get it. Timeouts, you advance the ball in half court. It's a little different than college. You advance it past half court in the NBA. But still, time was your best friend there, and he did not make the right play, in my opinion. Curry didn't get the calls, though. They were crowding Steph's landing space, as always, getting hammered on drives. Not as much today, but did get hit on the hand late in the game, which Steve Kerr was pissed about because the final play where they called a foul. Again, it's egregious. That's what I want to get to coming up. It's 3 things. It's Kuminga starting to become a dude. It's the Brandon Podziemski hate obsession right now. And it is also the Gary Payton play. That's ahead on Locked On Dubs. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Audible. It's brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Get ready to tackle the remaining NFL action if you haven't already, because right now new customers can bet $5. You'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you could check out the latest stats. You could view the live play-by-play. You could do so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's on FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. And in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors were 3.5-point dogs to the Houston Rockets. They do cover that spread, losing by just 1. But for those on the money line, you took the L in this one. Hop back on the horse on FanDuel.com. All right, for everyone that is tuning in live on the show, would love to hear your comments. Feature them on the screen. We are playing the if game. Berserk Monk. Berserk Monk. We are playing the if game because I do think that in that situation, it's just mathematically impossible for the Rockets to have a good chance to win. And by good chance, I mean anything more than having, 1.8 on a side out trying to win that way. So when you give the chance, it was tipped up. The Warriors, ran off some clock just from the scramble there at the end, but Curry misses that shot. Rockets get it cleanly. They call the timeout. There's 9 seconds on the clock, 1-point game. It just completely changes it. Look, Steph's got the green light at all times. You can't question that. I am just always a fan of you run that thing down as much as possible when you have the lead. That's what you do. If it's tied in that situation, maybe I feel a little bit differently because you take the best shot available. And if he's got a wide open 3, it's Steph Curry. He's hitting it nearly 50% of the time. You let it fly there. But, man, the Gary Payton play, after Steph Curry misses the 3, you got to make him tie you up, Gary Payton. And look, first of all, there was a foul there. First of all, why were Payton and Pods on the floor at the same time at any point in this game? I will never understand it. I don't know the amount of minutes that they played together, but it's just become hard to see those two running at the same time because of the lack of offensive threats. I mean, Gary Payton, who was 36% from 3 last year, is down to 17%. Podziemski, 39% a season ago, is down in the 20s. Just 2 offensive players right now that aren't giving you much. I don't see how you play them at the same time, but when you don't have Andrew Wiggins, at the end of the day, you got to run someone out there. And that's been kind of the storyline of the season since DeAnthony Melton has gone down. For those of you saying that Podziemski shouldn't play, he wouldn't be playing nearly as much if DeAnthony Melton was still on this team. So we'll see if they start to make a move of any sort to give them some help and let Podziemski start playing like a 21-year-old second-year player, which is easing into the league, handling the sophomore slump with less playing time instead of fighting through it, because he, quite frankly, has to in this situation. Moses Moody, by the way, not available for this one, so we saw 0 minutes from Moody. But the Peyton play, got to make him tie you up there. Jump ball, either waste the time, as I mentioned, or you get fouled there. The only thing you can't do is let Precious out of your sight. You got to treat the ball like it's the ring there, like your Gollum. My Precious is not going anywhere, and instead flings it across the floor and looking for Jonathan Kuminga, winds up in the hands of the Rockets, and then Kuminga becomes kind of a scapegoat. I gave him some shade on last night's show saying situational basketball, you can't do that. That was dumb of me. After watching the tape, he's making a basketball play there, trying to get the ball. Situationally, your instinct is find ball, see ball, grab ball. So you can't say much about Jonathan Kuminga in that situation. The only thing that you can say overall is that he was the team's leading scorer, and he's starting to become a dude, folks, right in front of our eyes. It's been consistent over the last week. You give him the opportunities to succeed, and he does exactly that. Just outscored Curry, 20 points in the game. So Anthony Slater saying it's a look at what he can be if you take the training wheels off. This is a trial period for the entire NBA. Are the Warriors going to ink him up as one of the players of the future? They're going to look at a team to potentially bring in a different type of player, since theoretically he plays the same positions as a Green or Wiggins. You have players in front of him. You could technically afford to trade him and bring someone back that helps you compete for championships this year. But he's starting to look good, man. Starting to look good. When he can knock down the three, he can get whatever he wants on the floor. The issue is sometimes he settles for that three a little too much. He had Şengün on him at one point in the game. Instead of blowing by him and utilizing that switch, he settled and pulled up for a deep three and missed it. So what can you do? Podziemski, we talked about him, the sophomore slump. A lot of people saying that they should give him the Jordan Poole treatment, send him to Santa Cruz for a confidence boost. You're accepting a lot of Pat Spencer if you do that, because Moody can't handle the rock like that. This team not loaded with ball handlers. And since Melton's gone out, you're relying on Podziemski more and more to be one of those ball handlers. So it is what it is. And Buddy's a rare shooting guard who can't really create for others off the dribble as much. He's more of a catch and shoot. In transition, he can, he's strong. He can finish. He's an NBA player. He ain't no damn, my son ain't no damn scrub, Coach Boone. Remember the Titans reference there. But you'd be seeing a lot of Pat Spencer if that is the plan, to send Brandon Podziemski down to Santa Cruz. So you just don't have any better options right now if you're Golden State. I thought Pods played okay. Had a couple steals, couple charges. Like I mentioned, held the Rockets backcourt to 8 of 28. But is crazy to pin the losses on him. Has he been playing good? No. Has not been playing great basketball by any means. So that's kind of where we stand. Next up is the Dallas Mavericks on Sunday. It sucks not heading to Vegas and having a chance to win this thing, but it's one loss, and I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible. The last 2 weeks have been absolutely brutal, because we all see what we thought we knew before the season, and that was this team is just missing an ingredient to the gumbo. We got the sausage and Steph Curry. We got the broth and the veteran mid-level players that came in, but we're missing the shrimp. We're missing that shrimp that we had in 21-22, which was Jordan Poole coming in for 30 off the bench. They don't have that scoring threat. Hell, if you want to hit up Washington, bring Poole back, ask Draymond how he would feel about it. I mean, that type of player, maybe not him, but that type of player that can go get a bucket would help the Warriors right now. And then maybe Kerr could go the defense to offense. You bring in Peyton and hide that player's defensive inabilities, because you're probably not getting a two-way guy at the deadline. It's just not going to happen. But you got to find someone that can help this team score some points. It's as simple as that. Golden State had the Rockets on the ropes. They did not get the job done, which is so damn frustrating, because it's one that they had to win. They had to win 16 in a row. Would have made it the largest losing streak by one NBA team to another NBA team in NBA history. Would have just been nice heading to Vegas and having something to cheer about in the early stages of the season. Now it's a rematch with Clay and the Mavericks. Last time we saw him, vibes were really good. It was the game where Curry hit the almost premature night-night that ended up being sick and went crazy in front of the camera, saying he don't want to be here. So we'll see if Golden State can get it done again. Right now, where they sit in the West, it's 14-10. It's 14-10, still first in the Pacific Division. You want to talk about a division that's not off to a great start? It's the Pacific, with the Clippers at 14-11, the Lakers at 13-11, the Suns at 12-11, and the Sacramento Kings, who by all standards have been somewhat of a disappointment since that rise to the scene in 21-22, have not been lighting the beam nearly as much. They are 13-13, 500. Where the Warriors stand, let's put it this way. If they were in the East, they'd be a top 5 seed right now, ahead of the Miami Heat. They're not in the East. They are in the West. And in the West right now, hey, they'd be a top 5 seed. Yes, Golden State is 5th currently in the West at 14-10, ahead of the LA Clippers, but just a game separates, just a game and a half separates them from being out of the play-in altogether. It's that tight, and it's going to be that tight all season. And you see Minnesota at the 9 spot, Denver at the 7 spot. Both those teams are clearly on the same level as Golden State and can jump you. Phoenix already beat you. They're down at 10 right now. They can jump you. Watch out for the Spurs, who are going to get better as the season goes along at 12-12. The Kings are 13-13. I mean, it's scary season right now with a tough schedule coming up into the new year. The Warriors have to start winning some of these games, especially when you're up by 6 with 2 minutes left in the game. You have to find a way to close it out. And even if you don't close it out, just score a damn point to end the game. Enough of these droughts. Steph Curry said it best. It can't happen, everyone. This is Locked On Warriors. We're here for you. We're free and available. It's a therapy session for you all. Monday through Friday, live after games, and wherever you get your audio podcast. Peace, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.